Hello everyone, welcome back to English Only Zone. So this is the second part of the explanation of the chapter The Wit That Won Hearts in the NCERT book Unit 1 Wit and Wisdom. So in the previous part we have studied that Thirumalambal, the wife of King Krishnadev Rai, was really upset as she had a quarrel with her husband over a very small matter. She started yawning when King Krishnadev Rai was reciting a poem to her, and King Krishnadev Rai thought that she was disrespecting him and his poem, that's why she was yawning. But it was not out of disrespect, it was due to the tiredness of the queen. So the queen went to Tenali Raman for help and she requested him to make the king understand that it was not out of disrespect. So Tenali Raman wanted some time to have some plan, to make some plan so that he can make the king understand that the queen did not have any intentions of hurting him. The next morning, when after the queen had a meeting with Tenali Raman, the next morning the court was as busy as usual. The courtroom was beautifully decorated. The sun rays were coming, they were falling on the beautiful rugs, and the king, King Krishnadev Rai, he was still in tension because of the quarrel with his wife. So now let's begin with the second part of the explanation. The court discussion was centered on improving paddy cultivation in the empire. The court discussion was centered, it was focused on improving paddy cultivation in the empire. How paddy could be cultivated more in the entire empire. And one by one, the ministers rose to present their ideas. One by one, the ministers were standing and they were telling their ideas regarding the improvement in paddy cultivation. Some suggested expanding irrigation networks while others advocated for better manure. Some of the ministers were suggesting that irrigation facilities should be expanded and the others advocated for better manure to be put in the fields. Amid these suggestions, Tenali Raman stood quietly at the edge of the court, observing everyone with an amused smile. Tenali Raman was standing quietly at the edge, at the corner of the court, and he was observing everyone with an amusing smile on his face. Finally, the king called upon Rama. The chatter in the court died down as all eyes turned to him. The king called Rama for his suggestion. The people in the court were chattering earlier, but now when they heard Rama's name, they all were silent and all eyes turned towards him. Rama approached the throne carrying a plate full of paddy seeds. Rama approached towards the king, towards his throne, and he was carrying a plate full of paddy seeds. Bowing low, he began, "Your Majesty, I bring you a revolutionary type of paddy seeds. If these are sown, the yield will be 3 times greater than the current results." So what did he say? He said that he had brought out a revolutionary type of paddy seeds. And if those seeds were sown in the fields, the yield would be 3 times greater than the current results. A murmur swept through the room. One of the courtiers, known for his sarcasm, whispered just loud enough to be heard. Now people started murmuring in the court. One of the courtiers, who was very famous for his sarcasm, for his mockery, he used to make fun of others' ideas. He whispered loud. He spoke loudly. Actually, he whispered, but he intentionally whispered loudly so that it could be heard. "I wonder if these are magic seeds? Next he'll claim they'll grow without water." He said, "I think that these seeds are magic seeds." And now he will claim that these seeds will grow without water. Because paddy is one of the cultivation which needs maximum amount of water. And if Tenali Rama was claiming that he had revolutionary type of paddy seeds and the yield will be 3 times greater if these will be sown. So the other person said that maybe he will now claim that these seeds will grow without water. Another muttered, "Perhaps he found them on the moon." Snickers rippled through the court. Now another person muttered that maybe he has found those seeds on moon because it was impossible to have 3 times greater results yield as compared to the present one. Now everyone started laughing. They were trying to control their laugh, but they were laughing at such a foolish idea of Tenali Raman. The king frowned, unimpressed. The king got angry. He was unimpressed by Tenali Raman's idea. That sounds absurd, he muttered. Such cultivation would need special soil, manure, and pest and insect repellents. If by chance something were to go wrong, our farmers would suffer. And then he said, such cultivation would need special soil. Our farmers would need special soil for that. They would need special manure, and they would also need pest and insect repellents also. And if a lot of money has to be spent on these things, and if something goes wrong, then our farmers would suffer a lot of loss. Rama smiled unfazed. That may be true, Your Majesty, but real issue lies not with the seeds themselves, but with the person who sows them. Now Rama smiled unfazed. Unfazed means he was not worried, that the king was not impressed by his idea, because Tenali Raman today came with some other thought. The thought of making the matter solved, the matter which led to the quarrel between the king and his wife. He wanted to solve that matter. He came with that idea today in the court. So he said, maybe that's true, that the farmers may suffer a lot of loss. But the real issue lies not with the seeds, but the issue lies with the person who sows the seeds. Now everyone started laughing. A hush fell over the court as Rama's word hung in the air. The king's eyebrows furrowed. His eyebrows became wrinkled. He was angry. What is wrong with the person who sows the seeds? Speak clearly, Rama, he roared. Now the king shouted, what is wrong with the person who is sowing the seeds? What is wrong in sowing the seeds? He asked Rama to speak clearly. Rama glanced around the court, his sharp gaze meeting the skeptical eyes of the courtiers. Now Rama looked around in the court. He saw that everyone was looking sharply towards him. They were having doubtful eyes towards him. If one were to sow seeds without proper care, no one would reap a good harvest, he said. So it was very true that if one has to sow seeds properly, then only he will be able to get good results. Sowing the seeds in a proper manner is also important. Pausing for effect, and he waited for the effect from the courtiers, from the king. And what if the person had a habit of yawning while sowing? Wouldn't the seeds scatter unevenly? So he said, and what if the person had a habit of yawning? क्या हो अगर पर्सन की हैबिट हो यौन करने की, अगर वो सीड सो कर रहा है और उसे यौन करना है, उसे उबासी आ रही है, तब क्या होगा? क्या उसकी सीड्स अनइवनली स्कैटर नहीं होंगी? The court erupted into laughter. Now the court started laughing. The courtiers started laughing. The earlier sarcasm replaced by genuine amusement. Now earlier, one of the courtiers has given a sarcasm that now he will claim that the seeds will grow without water. So everyone was now amused that today something has happened to Tenali Raman. What a foolish excuse he is giving, that the one who is sowing the seeds, he was yawning, that's why the yield was not good. Even the king caught off guard, sighed and instinctively yawned. Even the king started yawning. Rama watched him keenly, then continued, Your Majesty, is there anyone in this world who does not yawn? It is as natural as breathing. So he said, Your Majesty, there is no one in the world who doesn't yawn. So anyone can make this mistake of unevenly scattering the seeds. Yawning is as natural as breathing. The king's expression shifted as realization dawned. Now king realized what mistake he had made. His mind raced back to the quarrel with the queen. He remembered scolding her harshly for yawning while he recited his poem. He remembered how he scolded the queen when he was reciting the poem. He realized how unfair he had been, how wrong he had been with the queen. If I had known that yawning was not a sign of disrespect, I wouldn't have taken her gesture so personally, he thought, regret filling his heart. And he thought that if I would have known, if he would have known that yawning was not a mark of disrespect, it was not actually because of disrespect. Everyone can yawn, anyone can yawn. So he wouldn't have taken her gesture so personally, and he wouldn't also have got hurt. And now his heart was filled with regret. That evening, the king approached the queen with a softened expression. Thirumalambal, he began, his voice gentle. His voice was gentle when he started talking to Queen after weeks. I have been foolish. I see now that I overreacted. I let my pride blind me. I'm so sorry. He said that he was foolish. He now realized that he had overreacted, and because of his pride that he was the king, and how can someone yawn in front of king? He made this mistake, and due to getting blind in his pride, he scolded his wife, and he now asked sorry for that. The queen, who had longed for this moment, smiled and replied, "If you like, we can leave this quarrel behind us. I would very much like to listen to your poem." Now, the queen, who had longed for this moment, who was waiting eagerly for this moment that the king would come to her and they would talk, now she smiled and replied that if you like, we can leave this quarrel behind us. She said that if the king liked, the quarrel could be left behind, and she would be happy listening to the king's poems. Rama, who had orchestrated this settlement, it was Rama who had arranged all this settlement. He felt victorious. He felt that he had got a victory in the matter. The king and the queen later presented him with valuable gifts for his service. Both the king and the queen, they had presented him, they had given him valuable gifts for his help, for the work which he did in resolving their matter. The royal couple's bond was restored. Now, the royal couple's bond was restored. They were living together happily, and the palace brimmed once again with joy and laughter. Now, the palace corridors, which were made empty, which became lonely, forlorn, now they again started brimming with joy and laughter. They were overflowing with joy and laughter. So, this was all in the explanation of this first chapter from Purvi book. The name of the chapter was The Wit That Won Hearts. I think that you have understood the explanation of the chapter. If there is still any doubt, you may write that in the comment box. I will be happy to answer your queries and to resolve your doubts. If you have liked the explanation, you may press on the like button and share the video with your friends so that they can also be helped. Thank you so much for watching.